Welcome everybody to Provolution Health's what is going to be an epic evening as we speak about spinal health and deliver a spinal health workshop on
Text neck breakthrough.
Going to be an amazing evening. And firstly, before we begin, thank you for everybody taking time out. I know that this is going to be some incredibly valuable information. In fact, this information I think is so important, not only to you, but to anyone that you may know, because there are so many people that have been sitting at desks for prolonged periods of time or studying, or even have workplace postures that are problematic for their health. And if it's problematic for their spine, it's going to be potentially problematic for their brain, for their muscles, for the tightness and the tension they produce, but also a precursor to degenerative change. And we have a solution that I think is going to be so profound, so powerful, you're generally going to appreciate it. So we're going to jump into a PowerPoint slide deck, and if there are any questions at the end, you are welcome to address those. So let's share the screen. And we're going to start from the beginning here. All right, so as we said, we're going to be talking about the text neck breakthrough. This is Dr. Cindy Lamb, and I am Dr. Marcus Chakos. This is going to be an epic adventure. Over to you, Dr. Cindy.
Okay, this really is going to be epic. And you are right that spinal hygiene is something that is an epidemic, and it's something we do have to educate people on. So today we'll be covering three main topics. One, what is spinal hygiene? So you can understand what it is. And then two, how will spinal hygiene improve your life? Because I can tell you now, it really will. And three, how do you implement spinal hygiene into your daily routine?
So we're just moving a microphone so we can read this slide deck.
So spinal hygiene, it is very similar to dental hygiene, but we can talk more about that later. So spinal hygiene really is the set of practices associated with the preservation of the spine and maintaining the health of the spine. So it's really all about ensuring that degeneration doesn't occur later on and prevention. So as part of the prevention, this does include ensuring that you make some specific lifestyle activities, changes or choices, and also having regular chiropractic checkups.
Absolutely. And I'm going to talk about dental hygiene first from a perspective of my own background and my own research and this unreasonably amazing, interesting yet scary book, The Excruciating History of Dentistry. And this is going to have specific relevance to spinal hygiene and in fact your health and well-being. And to do that, I want to provide a little bit of background. And in terms of the concept of spinal hygiene, it does link dramatically to dental hygiene, and everyone's familiar with dental hygiene. So I'm going to spend around 2 or 3 minutes talking about dental hygiene to give you a framework of understanding as to what spinal hygiene means, because people are less familiar, less understanding of what spinal hygiene is, and yet it is more significant for you, for your health, for your quality of life than dental hygiene is, yet misunderstood, misrepresented, and not nearly as well, and not acted upon to the same extent. So Dr. Alfred Jones in 1906, it's interesting, his background, obviously, as a dentist, he was pulling so many teeth in his dental office that he became determined to do something about it. He said, I just can't be ripping teeth out. This is a disaster for people. People would die from dental intervention in the 1900s, early 1900s. There was recent inventions around anesthesia, but they didn't have the ratios right. So people would die from anesthesia, not uncommonly. People would die from injuries during that process. So it was not uncommon to have deaths associated with dental work in the early 1900s. It was absolutely dangerous before that. And in fact, hairdressers or barbers, as they were called back then, would do a lot of dental work and pull dental teeth as well. And even though we have a different opinion of dentistry now, it happened that way because Dr. Jones said, we know that there's this problem with tooth decay, and if we could prevent this, we wouldn't have to pull as many teeth. And it was an unusual concept just over 100 years ago. I mean, you can prevent dental decay and we don't have to pull all these teeth. And it's bizarre because the Queen Elizabeth actually used sugar as part of her toothpaste to create a white sheen, and she had lots and lots of teeth pulled out as well. So there's this insanity around dental hygiene over 100 years ago, but we almost have a dark ages approach to spinal hygiene. So in 1819, 16 years prior to, as we spoke in that moment there was a level of discovery that bacteria released caused, and the sugars of that caused tooth decay over time, but they weren't acting upon it. There was no direct, not that the evidence was there, but there was no direct change of what people were doing, altering their diet, their nutrition and factors like that. And that was creating the degeneration and the decay and the numerous episodes of unnecessary tooth pulling. And, as we said, there was a determination to do something about it. And we're now in the modern era, no one understands dental hygiene, because when people, 30, 40 years ago had teeth like on the left-hand side there, degeneration, it was unsightly, it was ungainly. You had a smell with your mouth because of the decay and the infection. It obviously didn't look the way the right-hand side looked. And we may say proper upkeep, but I would say that's really excellent hygiene on the right-hand side with regular dental work and support. But the left and the right show you what happens if you take care of your teeth, if you take care of the appropriate dental hygiene. And if you knew what was happening in your spine, if you could see your spine and were aware that it was what it looked like on the left-hand side and not what it looked like on the right-hand side on the inside, would you do something about it? If you knew the level and extent of decay in the spine was like the dental hygiene issues of 100 years ago, you want to do something about it. And the reality is, it is more epidemic than the dental decay issues, the spinal decay issues, and the impact is far more reaching, because it's not only having bad breath and unsightly teeth, it's altering brain function, it's altering nervous system function, it's changing physiology, it's putting you at risk of many conditions, including heart attack, including shortness of breath and emphysema and a whole range of things. Postural decay is not only epidemic, it is problematic with health. And so we're meant to have this beautiful curve on the right-hand side that we see there, but many people are getting to the point of the degeneration needs spinal intervention or the pain that it produces. And that is a real issue. I'm seeing 17-year-olds with arthritis. I have x-rays of 17-year-olds with arthritis. And that is an issue that needs to be addressed, and it only happens with education. So, Dr. Cindy.
It really is crazy. I see a lot of kids in the practice, and it's just getting more and more evident in the pre-teen and teenage years, and even posture, because kids now, like especially in past recent few years with COVID, they're home all day. If they're a bit bored, technology, schools on devices, and so they will always really sitting and slumping and slouching. But it really goes to show that it doesn't have to be that way, because these concepts are quite self-evident. So the scientific studies are great, but once that these concepts are established, we don't need these studies anymore, because it's just general knowledge. Everyone knows that you need to brush your teeth twice a day, morning and evening, and you need to be flossing as well. You don't really see as many research papers on this anymore. The only difference between dentistry and chiropractic is essentially public awareness.
And that's something we're going to talk about in a minute, and I'm going to specifically address. But before we do, we know this oral hygiene it has huge public awareness. The spinal hygiene doesn't. Most people know, look, it's important to have good posture. Most people are aware that if they hurt their back, they should do something about it. And although 97% of the population say they brush their teeth regularly, and there's also 50% of people visit dentists on a regular basis, that's a huge number. So I would like you to guess what percentage of people in the population see a chiropractor, are aware of spinal hygiene, and are doing something about their spinal hygiene. So put that into your guess before we go to the next slide into the chat. And if you're not familiar with how to use the chat, there's a little icon down at the bottom here that has the chat there.
Oh, someone's responded.
And put your answers there and we'll have a guess. Oh, good guess, Amy. Less than 5%, Raylene, 7%. I'm not sure whether you guys know this information by some other source, but you are both, in fact, very close to the mark there. Spinal health has a very small public awareness. It's fair to say that less than 1% of the population do spinal hygiene exercises at home, compared to dentistry's 94% of brushing teeth. And because of this lack of awareness, most statistics show that less than 5% of the population see a chiropractor regularly, as compared to 50% in dentistry. And now you know why 85% of people develop degeneration, arthritic or degenerative disc conditions by the age 50. And these statistics are modern statistics. The real concern is that it's 85% of people with arthritic and degenerative change at 50. We're seeing, as I said, 30, 35-year-olds with that and children with the first stage of degeneration as well. This is shocking, significant, and again, the impact is more significant with a degenerative spine because it will affect so many. It can actually immobilize you, and you can't take a spine out the way you can pull a tooth out. So, Cindy, this is really important to drive this home.
That's right. I always say to my patients, like, if only like a spinal replacement or nervous system replacement exists, because it kind of doesn't. But the difference is how did the dentistry industry like get this out and about and to build us the awareness. What they did was they had to spread the message, got into schools and businesses, and we need your help to do the same too. I really believe that one day all children will have their spines checked as just part of your blue book routine. And the second thing is, what the dentist did was they taught it to the patients, which is exactly why we're having this workshop today.
Yeah, this is, I think, something really significant that one, you're aware of this and you share this message with us, as many people as humanly possible. You need to remind your kids about the importance of posture. You need to remind family members. You need to bring it to the attention and awareness of your colleagues in the business. And if any of you would like your business, your organisation to have a lecture on spinal hygiene, as we're detailing and discussing there, we are welcome and happy to. So we're certainly happy to, and if you would welcome us, we come into your organisation to deliver these educational sessions so that organisations can know and understand, and we bring a great deal more statistics to that and the research and the evidence that shows the impact that this has on workplace performance, because again, poor posture can lead to tiredness, fatigue, headaches, and a whole range of other symptoms that interfere with a person's ability to perform at work, function at work, and live healthy and amazing lives. So we want to share that message as far as possible and practical.
That's right. And so we really want spinal hygiene to improve your life and also your loved ones' lives. And so the bottom line is, with chiropractic and spinal hygiene, it really supports and maintains the health of your spine and your nervous system, which is the master of your body. And like I said earlier, it's not something we can just easily replace. So spinal hygiene is lifetime spinal wellness, just like how dental hygiene is lifetime dental care. And so we know that doing things should be really easy. So if you just simply do one exercise a day for your spine, it will really, improve the results that you have in the practice, but it will also, change the trajectory of your spinal health as well. And so, if you can help us share this message with your loved ones, and together we can really make a difference in the health of our community. Absolutely.
One thing I want to say there is, again, that one exercise per day is really important. Again, back into the chat, let's talk dental hygiene for a moment. Brushing teeth, flossing, mouthwash. That's 3 things or exercises you could do daily. How many of those 3 do you do? Into the chat. Let's have a look.
2. 1, but no feelings.
1, but no feelings. That's great. 2, and that's a beautiful meatloaf song. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So we can see that not everybody does everything that they could do, and that's okay. You're doing something, and if you're doing 1 but no feelings, see, it's that I do 1 thing every day that makes a difference, or I do 2, and I can see that there are benefits to that process. So the reason I wanted to share that and bring that exercise to this conversation is because even if you did just 1 of these exercises we're going to go through tonight, it will help, it will make a difference. And if you do it well, it in and of itself can be enough. But the more you do of these, the more consistent you are, the better it is going to be. Over to you, mate.
All right, so how do we implement spinal hygiene to your daily routine? So firstly, really going back into the foundational principles of what is a healthy spine and a healthy nervous system. So first of all, your spine needs to be in a certain alignment, and I'll talk you through it in a moment with visual pictures. Secondly, your spine needs to move through all ranges of motion in each direction with ease and no discomfort, right? And thirdly, the muscles around the spine should be strong and healthy.
Absolutely.
So spinal hygiene, it is, let's say if we're talking about the principle only, it makes up the part of the subluxations complex. And with subluxation, it can really only be corrected by a chiropractor, by a chiropractic adjustment. So the thing with subluxation is, like, don't get me wrong, exercise is very important, but it can't necessarily treat or say cure or correct a subluxation. Just like how if you had a cavity, just because you brush your teeth doesn't mean it'll go away. Only a dentist can do a proper filling. So with the spinal hygiene exercises, the aim is really to be maintaining your health and your spinal health and prevention of breakdown of the spine. So I just want to put emphasis that the bottom line is spinal hygiene exercises aren't treatment at all, in the same way that flossing isn't treatment. It's really a preventative measure.
Yeah, it's absolutely part of your lifestyle. So when we look at spinal hygiene, in the same way, you are not treating your teeth when you go home to brush your teeth. You are caring for your teeth, and these exercises are about caring for your spine.
So there are so many exercises that you can do, and I believe that all exercise is good exercise. But because we're talking about spinal hygiene, we need to look at the 3 goals and principles, which is spinal alignment, spinal range of motion, and spinal strength. So we'll keep it simple because we know that if we gave our patients way too many exercises, then people just simply won't follow it. So the goal is to find exercises that are globally healthy for the spine, incorporating all the 3 principles, and it ensures that every single person who attempts to do it should be able to do it without hurting themselves. So it should be as simple as, it should be from the top of people's head, oh, okay, I need to brush my teeth twice a day, I need to floss my teeth twice a day, and I need to use mouthwash twice a day. So it should, the aim of spinal hygiene exercises is to make sure that it's 3 simple exercises, really neat and simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go through these 3. Dr. Cindy's going to cover the first 2, and I'm going to cover the last. So
okay,
back with you, Dr. Cindy.
All right. So the first exercise that you want to be doing is to support the curves of your spine is spinal molding. So in terms of alignment, like I said to you earlier, I'll show you the pictures. If you can see here where it says the photo on the right hand side, it says the back, you want your spine to be completely straight. That's it. If you have any curves or like this, that's what we call scoliosis. So we don't want that. But then from the side, we definitely want to be seeing curves this time. So for your neck, you want a curve coming in. And then for your middle back, the curve comes out, and your low back, the curve comes back in again. So the curve for your neck and your low back is what we call lordosis, and the curve through your mid back is called kyphosis. And these curves are super important because it means that the forces can be equally dispersed all throughout the spine. And so this is what a scoliosis spinal scoliosis would look like compared to what a straight knee spine would look like. And from the side, this is something you see way too often, unfortunately. And on the left, you can see people with poor posture. And that's when you see the head really coming forward, people with a slouched back, and then their pelvis, they'll either like swing it all the way forward or all the way back. And, it's like there's a funny joke and meme about how poor posture looks like models and of girls trying to make their bottom look bigger, but it really is just poor posture. So another reason why we want to be doing these spinal molding is not only do we want to be supporting the curves and alignment, we also need to be doing this to keep our discs healthy. So what the disc is it is cartilage, gel material in between the vertebral bodies, and it acts as a cushion and it gives us motion as well. And so if you have lack of motion, right, it gives the gel material a higher viscosity. And that's why it gives you the feeling rigid and tight. So that's why after you exercise, you feel loose. And then if you're sitting all day for work or you're sitting all day on a big road trip, then you'll feel tight. And so with spinal molding, it really helps to maintain the curves on your back from the side by taking advantage of the properties in the disc. Right? And so this is why spinal hygiene is an exercise, the first exercise that we recommend to be done ideally before bed, because you're typically looser by the end of the day. But if you can do it twice, that'd be even better. So with spinal molding, you're going to be doing it every single day, if possible, just like how you should be brushing your teeth twice a day as well.
Yeah.
And so with the spinal molding, you want to be making sure that the spine moves through a full range of motion each direction. Yeah. So with spinal molding, you want to be taking 1 or 2 roll towels or foam rolls. And now the reason why I say 1 is because, well, 1 for your neck, and you need a second one if your practitioner requests a second one for your low back. But what you do is you roll it up, if it's a towel or if it's a foam roll, you place it under your neck, touching the shoulders into that curve, and just gently rest back. Yeah.
Well, we're going to demonstrate that, Dr. Cindy. So,
Okay, I'll show you how to.
so there's a towel back there, and the rolling of the towel is very, very important for this because you want a firm roll towel. If you are not already doing this, there will be almost no one who will not have their neck improved by the use of the roll towel in the neck. And obviously there are these are things you can do at home. So there are other supports like a Denerol, which is a plastic molding for the neck. And we're not talking about that today. That's something you work with your practitioner with. But what I really want to highlight is a lot of people have a sway back, and that's why you may not want that roll in the lower back. If you've got a really straight spine in your lower back, the roll is important. If you've got a straight spine in your neck, which is more common than in the lower back, so it's important for you to work with your practitioner. I don't suggest everybody uses the lower back one, but almost everyone will benefit from the neck one.
Yep. And it's simply because our eyes are in front of us. We do so much of this forward looking. So I'll show you how to roll up a towel. You want to get a nice thin towel, one that's a bit worn out, and you want to have it long ways like this. And then you fold it in half, like so. And then what you want to do is turn it sideways and make sure and fold it into 3s. And so just by doing this, make sure that it's folded into 3s evenly. And then what you want to do is make sure that this open side of the towel is facing up on top, right? And then you want to get the closed edge side of the towel and then start folding it and then rolling it as tightly as possible. And it's important that you start from the closed edge of the towel so that, you know, you can really take away all the air to the other side. So then you might do this against the table.
We'll do this nice to the table. And then I'm going to step aside, and you can see, and Cindy's going to sit up. You can see all the way over here, the top of the couch here, and she's going to roll. So we've got a nice firm, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's important because you want a firm element. Now, if that towel, and we're going to see in a moment, Cindy's, when you do this, your head should not rest on the table, and I'll explain it over here. But when this goes underneath the neck like that, you want a firm pressure into the neck. So let's light out Dr. Cindy, and we're all, hopefully you can see us all there.
So, white, it's a white background.
Yes, so that goes under the neck, and Cindy's head is not touching the couch in this case. So obviously we will do this on the floor, we'll talk about that in a moment. Cindy's head is not touching. I can run my hand underneath her head, so that's contouring her neck perfectly. Now, she's on the couch, so her legs are hanging over the edge. We're not happy about that. Her curve in her lower back is fantastic. I can put my hand under there, so I'm not too concerned. Again, if it was really flat and down there, I can tell there's a straight curve there, and then we'll do the same right underneath there. But that's pretty good. And we're going to lift that up, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about that.
Something else I recommend to my patients as well is when they're laying down to do this exercise, I like it when my patients have their palms facing up, just because it keeps their shoulders in a more neutral position, because all day we're doing so much of this,
Yeah.
so it's just neutral. Yeah. So along with regular chiropractic adjustments and visits, with this exercise, it will help to maintain the curves of the spine. And honestly speaking, even if you just do this once a day, and every second day, it will benefit you greatly. It's a lot better than doing nothing at all.
Absolutely, and I recommend that people do it on a hard surface, such as a carpeted or rug floor, not on your bed, really not on a chiropractic adjusting table either, but make sure that you've got a firm surface, because on the bed, your body will contour or change its contour to the bed itself, and that will alter the natural curves of the spine. So make that comfortable as much as is possible, practical on the floor.
Yeah, because You do want this support as well.
Absolutely.
So moving on to the second exercise. So the second exercise is all about going at the principle of the spine needs to move in all directions with ease and to the full range of motion. It's because the spine is made to move, and yeah, so movement of the spine is life to the body. And there was a Nobel Prize winner who gave an amazing quote, so I'll just read it. He said, Roger Peppersberry was his name, movement of the joints of the spine is analogous to a windmill generating electricity to run a power plant. Therefore, the more mechanically distorted a person becomes, the less energy there is for healing, metabolism, and thinking.
Yeah, what's really interesting about not just his quote there, but the research, the most recent research into the spine demonstrates that not only does the actual energy, your metabolic energy and the amount of mental energy you have come from the activity of those small muscles, but so does your body's perception and awareness of where it is in space. So the reason an adjustment works so profoundly is, one, it changes the joint function, which changes that muscular function, which gives a whole host of new information to the brain. And so you actually don't only perceive where you are in space by saying, if I close my eyes, I know my shoulder's out at 90 degrees, and you can see that that's at 90 degrees. That's called proprioception, awareness of your body in space. So that is improved with an adjustment, and that is improved by the use of that these muscles work effectively. But so is your own self-perception, which is things like reflex, how you interact with and engage with the world, your awareness of environment, if you have falls, bumps or spills, if you trip over regularly, that's all this body sense and awareness. And so your posture is your feedback loop of the world. And there's a really interesting phenomenon that's beyond that, is the level of degeneration of balance and posture links to the level of degeneration of the brain. And there's a research article done about 20 years ago that found that the more forward-leaning a person has, so you know how people slowly get older and fall like that, the closer to death. So it's quite clear that people, and they did this research in a lot of those homes, so the forward head posture, that lack of that, is actually a degenerative process, far more significant than just postural elements. It is a decay of the body, the brain, and a person's ability to function. So this research is so profound. Your spinal hygiene, as I said, more significant than dental hygiene, because you can pull, my grandmother lived to 101, and I don't ever remember her in my lifetime having teeth. She had those teeth that you put in the glass at the end of the day, but she lived to 101 without teeth. But she had a great spine. She was mobile. She could still touch her toes. She used to come into the practice when she was 95, and I would make her run up, touch her toes, and run up and down the hallway with people. People were like, what? And that's because she took great care of her spine. And there was a generation older than us where you would be very severely dealt with if you didn't have good posture, and they'd put a ruler up your back and a book on your head. So there's this change of emphasis on spine and spinal hygiene has led to a deterioration that is significant and real. And so we want to reclaim our health and our quality of life because of that.
Yeah, so you're really right, Marcus, and thanks for adding all the research as well. And so as I was going on about earlier, with the disc, it's really important that we must have it to be helping with maintaining the movement, as well as prevention of degeneration as well. So most blood flow to the disc, it is gone by the age of puberty. So after puberty, the only way the disc can receive its nutrients is through imbibition. Now, imbibition refers to the exchange of fluids during movement. And when you're moving, this movement creates a pumping action in the disc, and this pumping action therefore brings nutrients, including oxygen and glucose, and then it helps expel the toxins, which is carbon dioxide. Yeah.
And that's why it's really, I love this part as well. That's why they've actually said that poor ergonomics and poor posture is the new smoking.
Yeah.
Because when we know the negative side effects of smoking, and even though people who do continue to smoke, they know that it's not healthy for them. But what's happening is when you're sitting at a desk for 8 hours, you are literally decaying your body at an accelerated rate. And this need for the body to move and to circulate fluids is actually part of healing, health, repair, and the ability to live your life and express life at the highest possible level.
Yeah. And so if you're really not moving, then will lead to the number one cause of degeneration of the spine. And so this misalignment then causes bone remodeling due to the abnormal loading of the pressure. And then if over a long period of time, this can lead to calcifications, which is essentially bone spurs. So yes, this lack of motion degenerates the disc due to a lack of imbibition.
And just to really make that clear, imbibition is any movement that produces that change of mobility of the spine. So even if you're doing like Mr. Bobbleheads, or you're doing dancing style movements and you're moving your disc around, that imbibition changes the compressive forces within the disc and creates healing and repair. And so we're going to show you how to move the spine, how to support the disc.
Yeah. So it is really nothing fancy. Our spine uses mainly three main planes of motion. So flexion and extension, coming backwards and forwards, lateral bending side to side, and rotation, turning side to side. And so what you want to be doing is taking both your neck and your low back to the end of each range of motion. And you want to be holding for about 10 seconds. So I'll demonstrate. So with your neck, perhaps I'll sit sideways. With your neck, you want to be looking all the way down, holding this position for 10 seconds. That's for 10 seconds. 10 seconds to 1 by. And then you want to look all the way up. Right? So that's flexion and extension. Then you want to be taking your neck side by side. And when you do this, make sure you're not having your shoulder coming up. So it's just simply the neck only. Neck, side by side, keeping the shoulder down. Yeah. And then you want to be turning your neck all the way to one side, hold for 10. Turning all the way to the other side, holding for 10. Yeah. Similarly with your back, first you want to do is bend over, reach as low as you possibly can for 10.
Yes, she makes that look easy, doesn't she?
Arch back for 10. Then you're going to come sideways. So keeping your arms straight, just simply coming to the side. Gives you a really nice stretch. And the other way. Right? Sideways. And the other way. Yeah. It's so simple. 3 planes of motion.
And you can see if you're holding each of those for 10 seconds each, 6 exercises, 10 seconds, that's a minute for the neck, a minute for the whole spine. If you do that 2 minutes, half a dozen times a day as a break, as a way to interrupt your seated position, it does such great work for the spine. It creates helps with the imbibition, it produces a range of motion phenomena that supports healing and repair. It is an imperative. You cannot not do this as part of your daily activities.
Yeah, and it's definitely something you'll be doing multiple times a day. More, the better. But if you had to really pick then, and you really only want to do it once a day, then you want to be doing it in the morning after you wake up. And this is because this is when your spine is usually the tightest, because it's been inactive from just sleeping for quite a number of hours. So you can do it just once a day in the morning, but we would recommend that it is best to do it as many times as possible throughout the day.
Yeah, especially given, as I said earlier, the poor posture, being seated for a prolonged period of time is the new smoking.
Yeah.
Get up, move, but do these exercises to move your body. And think about your cat, your dog, or pets or animals that you've seen. What do they do every time they get up? They stretch because they have an innate intelligence, an inborn wisdom that reminds them, and they act upon this inborn knowledge that they must stretch, they must keep those tissues moving so that they don't degenerate. And we overcome our innate intelligence, in my mind, poorly by saying, I've just got to sit here and got to get this work done. There was some wonderful research done actually at Google Corporation, and they found that when you stop work, you increase productivity. So somebody who sits down and says, that's it, I'm getting this email done, I'm spending 4 hours at the desk, no one interrupts me, they are able to calculate their level of productivity, the efficiency of their work, and it's really quite clear. You are less effective sitting there for 4 hours than if you have regular 5-minute breaks over that 4-hour period of time. So 6 breaks over that time, your productivity and performance actually increases. There's significant research, so much so that these corporations even have beds for people to lie in. They have couches for you to sit in, and they say, let's support the person having the environment that allows them to be more creative, to take breaks and to be productive, including being active you can actually do your work on a treadmill there if you like, because there is real benefit to that process. So spinal range of motion.
It's all about, yeah, like you said, Marcus, it's all about working smart, not working hard. And so all the spinal hygiene exercises are really about stopping degeneration. Whilst we, may not always be able to eliminate, we should always at least be able to, at the very least, reduce the devastating effects of spinal degeneration.
Absolutely. You can cover this too, Cindy.
All right. So with that, you like I said earlier, well, I'm going to skip to number 2 and 3. I just covered spinal molding, which helps maintain alignment on your spinal curves, and you're going to be doing spinal range of motion exercises to help the motion of your spine, movement of your disc, and which is encouraging immobilization and improving the strength of your spine. But on top of all these exercises, though, like we said earlier from the beginning, these exercises are part of prevention. But it's only the chiropractic adjustments that correct misalignment and activate the nervous system by correcting the subluxation, removing it, and restoring that brain and body connection.
Yeah. I think what's imperative. This is something for your entire life. You don't, whether you from cradle to grave, you've got to keep mobility. You've got to build the body to be strong and supportive, so that it can protect the spinal integrity. And if there is subluxation present, if there are misalignments, then we adjust those. And that's why this is an entire lifetime process. But I'm going to also talk about strengthening the body, because we spoke at the beginning, well, we want our posture and alignment to be there. We want mobility, but we need to protect the mobility and the posture by having the right core, not just core strength, but postural strength as well. So first I'm just going to talk about those little discs on the side. You can sit on one of those. That actually induces imbibition. So the left-hand picture, you can see that lady, she's there, she's moving. And if you rock on that, you're getting, as I said, that like that bobblehead movement I spoke about earlier, you can actually move your pelvis around, and that creates the imbibition or the supply of fluid into the disc that accelerates repair and regeneration. So if you have a seated job, and I'm very, very fortunate, I get to move all day throughout my position here between adjusting people. So I'm not seated for long periods of time. But if I were, I would be sitting on one of those if I had a seated job, just to give that movement to the disc. The next is, and I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to step back, is in addition to the molding exercises, is actually strengthening and toning those. Don't disagree completely, Cindy, come back. So you can go and buy one of these devices for like $100, and you can use this as your strengthening exercise, and it's fantastic.
$100.
No way. $10, get the same thing. I'm going to step back a little bit, roll back a bit. So just an exercise band, put it between your hands like that on both sides, and then that goes around behind your neck. And again, nice straight arms so that I've got a real tension there. And we're going to walk like an Egyptian. Remember the bangles? Fantastic band, my favourite. Susan Hoffman, not going to lie, did have a crush on her.
I've never heard of this band.
This band played before you were born, Dr. Cindy. Come back in here. So that's really important. Again, you're toning and strengthening those exercises. Now, she's got it there behind the head. If you've got one of those thick bands, you can do it in that way as well. The next one I'm going to show you is this one down here at the bottom, which is what I call dynamic core. And this is a really, really powerful exercise, because most people are mistaken about what the core is. And I'm going to do this as, again, an exercise to get you guys involved. In the chat, tell me where you think the core is. Are they not answering the chat because they don't know the answer?
Oh no, we've got
Here
one
we go.
response.
Great. The core is in the core, in the abdomen, and the answer, and there's, again, lower abdomen, okay? Good, and the answer to that is, that's what most people think. But I'm going to show you where the core is. The core, most people think, is this part here, and they say, you want to build up the core, you want to do your ab work. And then in a lot of people, as we just said there, said the core's down here in the lower abdomen. Both of those are in fact incomplete exercises. The core is your postural stabilizer muscles that include just above the knees here, your vastus medialis, your gluteus medius, so just on the side there, a muscle down here called your pyramidalis, which sits above the pubic bone, a quadratus lumborum around here, rhomboids between the shoulder blades, and even a scaling group of muscles here at the front. So they are your entire postural integrity. And so when you look at that exercise at the bottom right, you can see that that's creating those muscles, the legs are locked in, the butt has to hold that posture in, the lower back is protected, the neck is actually there as well, and the shoulder blades are held in position. So that, you can see a straight posture in her spine is there to protect the curves of her spine, but also to protect, through strengthening the postural muscles, the core and stabilizer muscles, the entire body. And so that exercise is not for everybody. I'm going to suggest that one, you test yourself on this, or that you have a conversation with me, because I have seen people fall over and go headfirst into the fire pit that we have here within the practice. And it sounds funny, but it actually wasn't, because it's dangerous and not everyone can do this exercise. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to disappear for a minute.
Looks hard.
So you grab a ball, and by the way, not everyone, I'm going to show it here, and then I'm going to show you a variation of it as well. So if you have a ball, and the reason we have a ball is you want an unstable surface, because your core is about stability. So the normal planking like that, most people can do that, but it's not an unstable surface. So an unstable surface of a ball that might roll, and we should be able to hold this posture easily, but we should also be able to move and create increased instability as we do that. So you've got an unstable surface of the ball, then you're bending your knees, you're straightening your legs, and the body goes, well, that's unstable. If you fall over doing that, or can't do that, or feel insecure, or really unstable, and you're going to go, I'm not going to try and do that because I know I'm going to fall. You've got a weak core, and your posture, your spinal hygiene has a lacking element. Now, you might say, okay, I can't do that with a ball. So firstly, that exercise that's one rep where you need to right knee to left elbow, left knee to right elbow, left hip extension, right hip extension. That's one rep, and you want to do 3 lots of 12 reps a day for spinal hygiene and spinal protection. It only takes just over a minute when you get good at it. But if you say, I can't do that, you do the same thing, but without the ball. Well, you now got a straight arm plank, but you can add in a hand in that way. So you can do it in variations, and if that's too hard, do it on an incline. So there, do it like this. And I'm kicking Cindy here. And if that's too hard, up against the wall. So there's many variations that give you that opportunity to be able to begin strengthening that core and stabilizing. But that's something you can do at home if you're comfortable. But you've now got range of motion exercises. You've got strength and postural exercises, and as we discussed right at the beginning, the molding exercises. Man, there's another message there. Yeah, and that's why I said it's sort of funny, but not quite.
So if we were to really summarize what is having good ideal spinal hygiene, it is one, you have to make sure that your spine hygiene is even getting checked in the first place, and that is getting your spine checked on a regular basis, whether that be weekly. Every morning, if you were to do it only once, do your spinal range of motion exercise. The more the better though. And then same spinal molding every night. You're going to be laying on your rolled towel for at least 11 minutes. We recommend 11 to 15 minutes. And then with the wobble band, wobble exercise, the band exercise, the plank dynamic core exercise, you want to be doing this 4 to 7 times a week. Yeah. And with the planking, like Marcus said, The aim is to finally reach 3 sets or 12 repetitions.
Should only take 1 to 3 minutes a day. All right, so we're coming to the end. I mean, you've got those exercises, and again, there'll be time for question in a moment, but those exercises are imperative. We start with spinal hygiene, we protect our spine now and for the future. We get our kids doing these things, we remind them of the importance of their posture, and we want to make some, this information accessible to you. We have a complete spinal hygiene e-magazine that covers so much of this content and goes well beyond what we've discussed today. So if you've got your phone, you can reach out now and you can take the QR code of that, or it'll be accessible on the Provolution Health website. You can look through and put the spinal hygiene workshop, and that will bring up the QR code for that as well. And this is a great magazine that Dr. Cindy has put together. It covers some incredible, there's great articles in there about spinal hygiene. There are exercises and some wonderful videos. An absolute brilliant resource, and I know that you'll find amazing benefit from that. And not only that, we have our Facebook page, which has got some great information on there, and our YouTube channel. So like and subscribe there. If you have any questions, obviously we'll address those now, but you can always contact us at the practice. So, you guys are amazing members of our practice, and we're so grateful and appreciative for you. So if you ever need to make an appointment, have any questions, the number is 62992660. As you know, info@provolutionhealth.com.au. But for anyone who is watching this that isn't part of our practice, is not aware of the wonderful resources that we have, please feel free to reach out at those contact details. Visit us on our Facebook and YouTube channels. We've got great resources, content, education, and information there. We are committed to being able to, as we spoke about, educating our community and making this information available as far as possible and practical, so that we can enhance the health and the quality of lives of people. And if there's anything we can do, as I said, to serve your workplace, maybe in a school or some other environment that this information is possible, please reach out. We love doing community talks, community presentations. We gift these to the community so that they can have access to this valuable information. So we are happy to help in any way, shape or form that will serve that process. And as I said, if you have any questions, this is a great opportunity to pick our brains for any information that you may want, or any clarity on the information that we are provided today. All right, so that says thank you so much for your time, much appreciated. Absolutely love the connection to the dental hygiene and spinal hygiene connection, which is, I think it shows a really interesting parallel there as well.
Thank you very much. I thought that was really useful, having a better understanding of the purpose of why we do the exercises, to actually really understand what impacts the lack of exercise has on our system. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
More clarity.
It is so important. I can't highlight how significant it is, because, as I said, now seeing 17-year-olds with arthritis, I've been in practice 27 years, and when I first graduated, I would see people with arthritic degenerative conditions at 60 or 70. And then it's over the period of time, it got lesser and lesser, maybe 50 or 60. And then it was surprising when you saw a 40-year-old. But then I was shocked when I saw a 30-year-old. And then it got to the point where, and this was only 2 years ago, where I was starting to see 25-year-olds, and then a year ago when a 17-year-old came in with first stage arthritic and degenerative change, and he was a 6'3" tall 17-year-old, but his posture was horrendous. And tall people often have poorer posture because they want to, they don't want to stand out as much. But he was also very addicted to his social media, his technology, and his mum brought him in because he had neck pain. His vision was deteriorating at a rapid rate, and he had these headaches that were making him miss school. And when we took X-rays, he had arthritis and degenerative change that I would not have seen really well until the 30s or 40s. So you're adding 15 years of decay to your spine by being unconscious of the significance of spinal hygiene. And that's what I mean. You can neglect your teeth. While it's not good, it's not intelligent, but you can get dentures. This child is going to have significant ramifications for his health and his life, because he has never been brought to spinal hygiene education sessions like this. And so when we post this on Facebook, please go share it with people and say, watch this, learn from this. Don't wait until it's too late, and allow it to impact your health and quality of life. It's changing brain function. It's not just the spine and the posture. It affects confidence, self-esteem, and alters memory and learning, and inhibits the nervous system from being able to adapt. So you become more prone to anxiety and depression. These are the scientific links to poor posture that go unaddressed, that go uncommunicated. And we've got the opportunity to share this message. So that's why we're so passionate about it and want to provide this information. So hopefully that expanded beyond that point, Raylene, but I thank you for raising that. I really appreciate it.
I think that was good. I'm thinking differently around like children that spend all their time gaming and all of that sort of thing, who I didn't realise there was a connection to sort of mental health as well.
Oh, absolutely, and it's there, make no mistake, it is a significant factor, not only because of, there's a, Cindy, can you grab the spinal subluxation poster? There's a great research done by Dee Harrison, who happens to be probably one of them, certainly one of the top 2 or 3 chiropractic researchers in the world. And this poster, I don't know if you can see that this part up here is what your curve should look like. And this is what a straight neck looks like. And that's what most teenagers have now, the straightening of the spine. What they found in that research was, by Dee Harrison, was that the straightening of the spine results in what's called sympathetic dominance. And that is an actual stress response like you're having to be chased by somebody. And when you think about it, so that's what forward head, poor posture looks like when someone's on their devices. And if I take that same posture, and Cindy, come here, and what does it look like we're about to do? Have a fight.
And that's why it's the starting position as well.
That rounding posture is called a fight or flight response. And so when you're in a fight with somebody, you're rounding to shallow down the center of gravity and create a capacity to take force. So that forward head carriage is actually creates a neurological response in the brain, even if you're not in a stress response. Or at least you don't think you're in a stress response. You think, oh, I'm having a great time on my computer game here. I'm really quite happy. You might be producing dopamine, but at the same time, you're producing cortisol, which is an unusual mix. You're happy to be stressed is really what that says. And so the research that Dee Harrison has shown is neurologically, your brain is ready to fight somebody when you're in that slump position. And that means that you're switching off what's called the prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain up here that is associated with executive thinking and planning and decision-making and actually reason and logic. So a child in their posture like this, one, becomes stressed without the environment itself being stressful. 2, it limits their ability to think, to reason, to apply logic. And so they become more reactive and more guarded. And
become cranky and angry to say, all right, finish up that game, time to eat dinner, or no more, that's enough. They just scream and just get very angry and agitated.
Yeah, so this is the real consequence of a lack of spinal hygiene and lack of education about its impact and influence.
I'm seeing connections here to the current issues that you see floating around Facebook of the bullying that is in a lot of the schools, and that the kids are out of control with they're attacking the teachers, and potentially, I guess there's connections to particularly having had 2 years of sedentary living with COVID and probably doing way too much screen time. Scary.
There are multiple factors. It's not to say that this is the only factor, because you can have a lot more bullying nowadays compared to when I grew up. I had one parent at home, one parent at work, and there was an interesting statistic that went from 80% of families had one parent at home in the 80s. Now it's 20% have one parent at home. So it's been a complete reversal. So maybe there isn't the same level of support and nurturing taking place in some home environments. Maybe there's more financial strains than there were with expectations, and that affects people. Maybe education standards have dropped, or in addition to the social media technology, role models a whole lot of negative things that are, what we want our children to be seeing or observing. And so we can role model these elements. But even if those things are all true, and they may not be true for every family, what is true is it is going to alter their perception of the world, their ability to reason and apply logic. And therefore, if they are, you can have two children, one with better posture, one with good posture and one with poor posture in the same environment. And what we know scientifically is the one with the better posture has better nervous system response and adaptation to the same stressors, and therefore making the ability to make better choices and maybe not bully the child and maybe not get angry at the teacher and throw things, because their nervous system is more capable of being informed and making better choices. Amy, have you got any questions? Is there anything that you would, other than your lovely message there? Thank you. No, perfect.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's wonderful. You have so much knowledge to share, and you know, even the questions after the presentation, you know, there's a wealth of knowledge just in answering those. It's you know, amazing.
Yeah, we love sharing this. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. Appreciate everyone else who has watched this as well. I said, if this information has helped, we're so grateful to be able to provide that. If there's anything else we can do, any way we can serve, share this with your friends, with your families, because the more people that know this information, the better the world will be.
All right. Well, we'll see you all in the practice sometime. Thank you for attending though.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was great.
Appreciate you, and we'll see you in the practice.
Thanks. Cheerio.
Bye.